I think the differentiator is clear in terms of the ability for non-coders. You don't need to know any solidity. You don't need to know what the blockchain is. You don't need to know, have any dev tools. It's really for anyone, accessible anytime. And yeah, the Dapps speak for themselves. So I recommend your community to get onto our Twitter or YouTube and check out the tutorials. And we might even have a few sneaky testnet access slots available as well. So yeah, definitely get in and check what it's all about.
Welcome back, everybody, to Altcoin Daily. Today, we are joined by CEO of Transient, the great Bo Olsen. Transient describes itself as the Amazon of smart contracts, an ecosystem built from the ground up to facilitate and increase blockchain adoption across every sphere of industry and life. I'm excited to talk to Bo about what exactly this means. Bo, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Thank you. How are you guys?
Doing excellent. Thank you so much for joining us today. Transient has gotten on our radar recently, so we're going to talk all about it. But I guess just first, how are you feeling about cryptocurrency in general?
Absolutely excited. I think it's a really good point of time to be in the industry and really pushing the boundaries with some, not just the technology, but the mainstream adoption that we're starting to see in many industries, not just ours now, but spending into the mainstream through whether it's new ecosystems, whether it's new chains, whether it's press and coverage. I think it's a really good time to be in the space.
Hell yeah. So let's get into this. Before we get into Transient, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, since you're the CEO of the company? What's your background? How did you get into crypto? And how did you find yourself at Transient?
Yeah, sure. So, I've been in the tech industry and the broader sort of ecosystem for my best part of my career. So the last 15 odd years. I've been in senior leadership roles across many multinational corporations in Australia and Asia and Europe. And a lot of my focus has been around infrastructure, program management, delivery management, platform management, pretty much anything under the domain of software development and engineering. So coming into the space, was using a lot of that experience to identify a couple of opportunities in the crypto space. The idea actually started as just a crypto use case, providing the ability for users to create smart contracts a lot easier. And obviously with a little bit of my experience and those conversations being had in those sorts of rooms and through those corporations, seen a really big opportunity to really span out and increase that across multiple industries.
And you kind of just said it, but for somebody who's just coming into the space, has never heard of Transient, can you just go over what is it? Why does it matter?
Yeah, so at Transient, we're hell-bent around building an ecosystem and providing the world a smart contract global marketplace. So we want to be the place that people come, where whether you're a coder or a non-coder, gives you the ability to actually create a smart contract from scratch using our intuitive and best-in-class UI. We give users the ability to create smart contracts anywhere for anyone at any time. So really breaking down the barriers to mass adoption from a UI and design perspective, as well as giving a simple and safe entry point for those not familiar with the blockchain space.
I like it. So when you describe yourself as the Amazon of smart contracts, what does that mean?
Yeah, it's a really good point, and that's one that's definitely caught some attention. Given where I've been in the space, I've worked a lot with those guys in terms of their ecosystem and the behemoth they've built, and to be sort of put into the same conversation with that will be great one day. But the intent behind the Amazon pitch was around the marketplace that we will be providing. So today you would go onto Amazon, whether it's for EC2 instances, whether you're spinning up your own cloud hosts, whether you're buying a book, the marketplace itself as Amazon, its ecosystem, caters to anything you need at any point in time. And where we're going with our Dapp creation and being able to create Dapps on the ecosystem that caters to every walk of life and every industry, we want to be that central point of the marketplace feel for when you need a smart contract.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but we've seen blockchain as a service projects in crypto before. How is Transient different than that previous competition?
Yeah, so, and this is something I've spoken to a couple of potential partners early on. So working particularly within the derivatives, CFD exchange and online entertainment businesses. So through my contacts, we've been prototyping and talking around what this looks like. And the big thing that came out to us was there was either two options to get into the space. So one, as you said, the blockchain as a service where, the big guys are providing a really good service, but at a really hefty price. Innovative companies, particularly in the online entertainment space, through gambling, esports and the like, technology first and generally like to be able to build their own stuff and keep their IP. So something we found is the opportunity for Transient to be almost a middleman within that and allow these industries and corporations to take their first step into blockchain, but with the non-requirement of having Solidity devs or people with experience within the blockchain. And Transient provides that in the form of the easy to use creation and really does mirror itself on today's sorts of practices, whether it's in CMS management, whether it's in marketing and CRM, a very familiar feel to how they'd be operating day to day from an operational perspective. And we think that the familiarity and also the ease of use really does, take out the incorrect notion of the ability to creating a smart contract is some sort of black magic. So we hope to remove that and be that middleman between the blockchain as a service and doing it all yourself.
Nice. I like it. I understand you guys are, just recently launched, I'm pretty sure, but I know you have 4 Dapps to come out in the next several months. Can you kind of touch on those 4 Dapps? What broad industries are they in? And then, what other types of industries is Transient targeting in these next couple of years? For instance, real estate, medical, law. But please first touch on the 4 Dapps.
Yeah, sure. When we initially looked at the roadmap for Transient and taking, that software development sort of principle of incremental value, the whole agile thing around inspection and adaptation, that was really critical for us to be able to understand where we wanted to get to. So those industries, like you said, outside of the crypto space, very traditional, very hierarchical, very red tape based organizations and industries. That's definitely where we want to get to. We want to get to a stage, and we'll put it really bluntly, that we want to get to a stage where we're seeing instantaneous smart contracts created in an automated fashion through existing ETL methods for these corporations. And, we'll talk about chains and the ability to do that soon, but, that's inevitably where we want to get to. However, we need to start somewhere. So in the form of the Dapps that we'll be creating, it really is a stepping stone by providing incremental value to our users, receiving feedback, and then moving on into the next phases of our projects and our Dapps. So the first one is TSC-Core. So this is really close, and the team have done a mountain of work to get it to this far. Audits are undergoing as we speak, and that should be signed off as our last artifact before locking in mainnet within the next couple of weeks. TSC-Core is around providing an entry sort of foundational layer for crypto use case, with the ability for anybody, coder or non-coder, to create a smart contract to service the effectively deposit of ERC20 tokens, deposit of ETH, transfer of those tokens and ETH, and also the ability to upload a digital signature. So a really good example of that one is if I'm a freelancer, I'm doing some work for a crypto company, they've got their sole payment method in USDT. As a freelancer, I can create a smart contract between myself and the client. I can put some executable rules around that, around when is it going to expire, what is the payment that I expect to receive, what the actions are, and what the client or partner will actually receive as a reward or as a points at which they actually complete the transaction. And all this is done in a number of steps within our form on our TSC-Core Dapp. So as I said, and the guys can jump onto our Twitter and YouTube around seeing some tutorials around how easy it is to use, but that's a 4-step process of some data being loaded, no coding required, and you're able to enter into that contract. with the executable time rules, as soon as that transaction either occurs or we actually, it may be time bound at a certain point in time. If that transaction isn't fulfilled, then it self-terminates itself as well. So removing any type of chance of non-payment or actually providing goods or services without that benefit of instant payment. So that's one use case. Really excited about that. That one gives us the opportunity to get real world feedback really quickly and allows us to tweak our foundational product. TSC-Core will be the basis of which our Dapps are built into the future. And we were really focused on ensuring that whatever we built with TSC-Core would be the foundation we'd be able to build on, which allows us to be scalable and flexible in terms of how we build upon that. And that's something we spent a lot of time on to ensure that from a chain agnostic perspective, it was EVM based at the moment, which allows us to operate with the likes of EcoChain through Ubi's network, works ongoing with Binance Smart Chain. And we're currently looking at what chains next to effectively facilitate our next use cases. So it really gives us a really good grounding as to where we can go to next. The next one is our crypto pool, which I think, the buzz around prices and predictions at the moment is obviously ongoing, as it is, quite generally within the crypto space. And that's giving community an ability to actually create prediction pools within our Dapps, where you would effectively set a time period, a number of options or brackets for certain price gaps, and be able to have the community actually put their money where their mouth is, so to say, and look at predicting prices at a certain point in time. So, what's Ethereum going to be at midnight on the 24th of October? I could put that up as my own market or competition. The community can then put their money through, and if you're correct, great, and you'll be able to get some winnings within that and distribute it automatically through our smart contract. So that one is quite exciting, and once again gives us another point in reference to continue to build and get some feedback around usage as we move into our Dapps down the road. The big one, just as I take a sip of water.
Yeah, I appreciate all this information you're sharing with us. I love going over these Dapps. We mentioned TSC-Core. We just mentioned crypto pool. I like that. I like, we have two more, I think.
Yeah, we do. So the big one that I'm looking forward to, and this is something that we've put a lot of time in around partnerships and strategy. So we've teamed up with a strategic partner in the esports space based out of Australia, and we'll be dropping some details around those in the next couple of days. But we've partnered with them to really get a ability to have a footprint in the esports ecosystem, and what is, I think, valued over $1 billion now just from a tournament perspective into next year. And the esports that will provide the next level and complementary experience to how gamers and esports consumers consume their content and be part of the action. So similar to crypto pool, we'll be giving users the ability to create their own pools and competitions based on official tournaments across the world. So we have a Dota tournament coming up, and we've got a 64 match round robin tournament. I could effectively create a competition myself with the matches that I want to be bet upon and open that up to the community. Once again, great rivalry, great usage of your knowledge within the space, and using our smart contracts, winnings are distributed, automatically. So, really, really good feature. Second to that is, and something that I'm not seeing in the market today, is the ability for us to really do peer-to-peer social betting. And that's for me playing FIFA against you, being able to create our own market and have the community as well actually take a part in that action. So really, really interesting within the esports space.
So just there's a couple that you mentioned, digital identity for finance, for other things, etc. Esports, market prediction. Why would somebody choose to do that on Transient rather than the other blockchains out there? Is it the ease of use?
Yeah, 100%. So once you do get on, and we've just had a really good round of testnet. So we had over 3,000 requests to get onto our testnet, over 95% positive feedback, which mostly related to the UI and ease of use. So it really is that you could be going on to any other website, traditional or otherwise, and have the same experiences in terms of UI, UX, and the ability to execute what you need to do as you get there. So it's also the differentiator of experience. So particularly the esports and the crypto pool sort of principles around community-led creation of experiences. There's sports books out there today. There's esports, bookmakers and that, but we're really focused on getting the power back to the user and the community to create the content and experiences they want to see and allow their peers and communities to actually interact with that. And that's the core differentiator we're looking at.
Are you a sports fan? Like, what sports teams do you like?
Yeah, so you probably heard from my accent. I'm Australian, so Aussie rules is a big one. And my background was 10 years in the betting industry. Across the Flutter Group, which operates out of Australia and Europe and now the US. So a lot of time in that, and you'll see through some of the Dapps and the experiences we create, with knowledge and I suppose the expertise in talking marks around the industry and the opportunities that represents. Sports betting and that sort of ecosystem is something that I don't want to get into specifically as yet, and we've really targeted esports as that demographic. And that comes back to a really close alignment to the principles of the crypto and esports and gaming communities. Through our research, we've found that technology first, decentralization, all that good stuff around what makes blockchain and the crypto space great is some real fundamentals of the gamer and esports community. So we see some really great synergies there. And we if the time's right, we may look into that broader sports market. But yeah, for now it is quite direct on the esports play.
That's perfect. I mean, like your background in that kind of stuff. Now it makes sense why you're starting with these, because these are things that you can kill right away. And esports is like exploding, just like cryptocurrency, right?
Mm-hmm. It is, yeah, definitely. In terms of not just the experiences that we create, but the ability for these teams and competitions to be able to operate, without a central authority like a team manager or a tournament official with smart contracts allows us to give back in another way to the community as well. So, there's quite a bit of not fraudulent activity, but there are some scams within the esports ecosystem where people are not being paid out for winnings, and agreements based on their contribution to tournaments. So once again, with Transient, and this will be what we'll be working with our esports strategic partner on, is how do we actually give a supplementary Dapp or experience to those to alleviate that issue and not just add the entertainment value, but also add the real world human value of being paid when you've been said to be paid, and not being screwed over by a team manager or an official that they've got you to play a tournament for. So there's definitely a number of ways we can cut that to ensure that we're adding value in a real way.
Totally. And it's not just esports. This is just the beginning, but on your website it listed other industries as well. There's real estate, there's medical, there's law, there's all sorts of stuff. As you guys continue to go forward, what kind of industries do you see yourself tackling next?
Yeah, so law is a big one, but it's complicated, clearly. I'm not going to try to put any professor hat on this very shiny head. But what we do know is that the need and the ability for the legal profession in general to have access to easily verifiable data via digital contracts, or as we're coining them within Transient next-gen contracts, things like NDAs. So we're in development of our NDA or non-disclosure agreement Dapp, which in principle is a pretty simple and straightforward approach, but no one's doing it today. So using, once again, a very similar design pattern and UI, we're able to actually create a 3 or 4 step process to digitally create an NDA that can be shared in a very similar manner to how TSC-Core operates, by me as an owner creating a contract, myself putting the parameters around that, sending it to you as a partner to accept, and then we allow the smart contracts to self-execute and self-terminate as they need to. So if I have an agreement with yourselves for the next 5 years, which I'm sure we will, we effectively go into an agreement for that period of time. At that expiry, we'll both be notified that it is now ceased and be allowed to enter into a new agreement. So, we're working through this and through, the startup phase, whether it's investors that you're talking to, whether it's, partners that you're talking to, whoever it is, NDAs and these sorts of agreements are very common. And our role now is to actually see how we can alleviate that strain and pressure and make it as absolutely as simple as possible. So NDA, Dapp is also in development at the moment, and that hits the legal side. One that I think, really passionate about, and this is a real, use case in the sense of human value, is the insurance sector. So out of my most recent experience, it's around how do you get claims and, whether it's health insurance, whether it's personal insurance, whether it's car insurance, really trying to cut out the number of manual steps and the bureaucracy and red tape and centralization of using central banks for payments and the like, to really put the consumer back in the pole position and allow them to control their own destiny. So we all know if we put in an insurance claim, the sort of lead time that takes to actually be accepted, you then have to call the contact center, you then wait for information to come back, you then get your claim approved, you then get it sent to your bank, and that's probably 3 or 4 weeks after. Wouldn't it be great if you got your car repaired, the repairer ticks it off within Transient and you're paid into your crypto wallet automatically? It'd be a pretty good world.
Absolutely.
And, that's and it's not too far away. The technology's there. We think we have the industry connections to get there. And that definitely is one that excites me for the human value.
Well, anything that we can cut out the middleman and just have a smart contract do it and put the consumer back in control, I support. Like, that's obviously 100%. Why a lot of us are in crypto. With all those use cases, what is the use case of the Transient token? Why is it needed?
Yeah, so for the token itself, will provide utility across the marketplace, first of all. So you'll require some TSCT within that to be able to operate across the ecosystem. We're also looking at, and we'll be announcing a tier structure, so transient tiers that will come out in the next few days. And that's really geared towards providing differentiated experiences for our token holders who obviously have loyalty in terms of the amount they hold and also the period that they're holding. So if you look at the esports example, a real clear one is around exclusive promotions, exclusive content, the ability to join prize pools that may not be accessible for all users. So as you provide, your loyalty, and the reward will be there for that. In terms of the smart contract side, it's also opening up the number of smart contracts that you can have in an active base. So if you're at the maximum tier, unlimited access, similar to most subscription types, it will be utilized throughout the token. But then also a sharing revenue model, and this will be sharing revenue, for any transaction fees that come through the Transient network, we'll be putting back into the community, and we'll be announcing some details around that shortly. But whether it's in form of raw tokens or a mechanism for us to buy back and burn. So that's a couple of pieces that we're putting together, and publishing, we've already decided on it. It's just around timing to get that out. But yeah, that's how we'll be looking to utilize utility and reward those that believe in the project and are using it frequently.
Now, the token is an ERC20 token. I believe you mentioned it was blockchain agnostic. Is that because it's EVM, Ethereum virtual machine compatible, and because like Binance Smart Chain is EVM compatible? Is that what you mean by blockchain agnostic?
Yeah, so for the initial Dapps, so yeah, it not affected. Yeah, EVM definitely is where we're playing. So the way we've built though is the core code base. As we expand into our new Dapps, we'll be able to look at the most effective chain for that. So in terms of core and the Dapps we have today, EVM based, and we're extending to Heco chain. And BSC. Yes, that's correct.
But if it became more advantageous to go on a blockchain that's not EVM compatible, you could do that in the future, or
yes, we could. Yeah, yes, we could. So particularly the underlying functions that we've created will be reusable across that. There'll obviously be some work identifying for which use case we would be extending to, and the value that brings back to the project and the ecosystem itself. But as I've said to my guys, whether it's been around for 5 minutes or 5 years, if someone is working on a chain or a solution to get to where we want to get to, I want to be talking with them. I want to be prototyping and want to be experimenting around how that may assist us into the future. So yeah, there's plenty happening all the time. We just need to find how it can better our use case going forward.
I want to take a little step back just to get a wider view of the whole crypto market, the Ethereum ecosystem in general. Are you a big believer? Like, where do you see ETH's the king right now? Where do you see it in the next few years?
Yeah, I think it's the next few years, I think, is going to be a really not challenging, but not, and also not corrective, but the view is going to be a little bit different. So I think particularly from an industrialized and institutional perspective, we can see that the type of coverage that's happening, ETFs, publications all happening at the same time. We're not just in a bull market in the sense of price, but I think into next year, these institutions and corporations are going to be starting to talk around their strategic approach to blockchain and how they will fit into the ecosystem. So I think that becomes part of the conversation around the longevity of where we are today and what we're using today, because I think there'll be some movement forced upon the space in being able to adapt with how non-crypto use cases start to come into the blockchain. In terms of where we are today, we're clearly doing something right. Yeah, so we can see transactions increasing on BSC and the like, but anchored generally on Ethereum. So I can't see that shifting in the next, sort of a short period of time. As long as people are continuing to build and projects are building and transactions and improvements are being made to the ecosystem. For me personally, for Transient, I can't see doing a complete, 180 or 360 completely. However, I think there will be a demand for a more of an institutional / strategic understanding of how different sectors and different industries and the crypto space in itself actually starts to leverage various chains and also that cross-chain mentality of where it makes sense. So yeah, strong believer still until we can see a chain with the longevity of what we've seen today. It's hard to question otherwise.
So ETH is the king right now, but there is a multi-chain future out there depending on utility.
Yeah, there has to be. For me, it's we can see it already, but there will be a number of avenues and a number of forks in the road that there will be industry and there'll be use cases that will be utilizing various chains. And I think it's around the compatibility and interoperability of those chains and how you get that into a single ecosystem inevitably.
And just for fun, we like to ask this of a lot of our guests. If Bitcoin does well this cycle, where could you see Ethereum just for this cycle while it is king? Where could you see it?
Wow, as much as it I think endless, truthfully. In terms of price, I'm not going to do any TA here, but from where we are, I think it may stabilize, but I think we're still going. So yeah, definitely one to watch and continue to be excited about as it continues to grow.
You're going to have to get on crypto pool and the betting pools on Transient
100%.
to get that information.
Definitely. Yeah. And once it's live, put all of your recommendations and guesses in there. Because it's going to drive a lot of conversation as it does today. But yeah, can't wait for crypto pool and the other dApps to get live and get the world to start consuming some great user experience and really start break down those barriers to adoption we've seen in the past.
So what does success look like for Transient, say 5 years from now or 5 years plus from now?
Yeah, I think 5 years plus is we've hit our marketplace. We've got 20 different dApps across different industry, but the key for me is around that instantaneous smart contract creation within industry and the mainstream. So we're talking thousands of transactions per second. We're talking immutability. We're talking interruptibility. And for Transient to say that we've done what we needed to do and set out to achieve, that is being able to leverage automated smart contracts for corporate size, volumes and transactions. And, by then, with all the chain conversations we've had and interruptibility, cross-chain, all that sort of stuff, we can hopefully be in a position where we're, ensuring the decentralization, but continue to push the boundaries in terms of, scalability and security. So for us, it's a big partner. It's millions of transactions, it's instantaneous, and it's completely code-free, accessible to anyone, anywhere, anytime.
I want to end this conversation just by talking about big picture cryptocurrency type stuff, but is there anything we didn't cover with Transient that you want to share?
No, I think we definitely covered the principle of it. I think the differentiator is clear in terms of the ability for non-coders. You don't need to know any solidity. You don't need to know what the blockchain is. You don't need to know, have any dev tools. It's really for anyone, accessible anytime. And yeah, the dApps speak for themselves. So recommend your community to get onto our Twitter or YouTube and check out the tutorials. And we might even have a few sneaky testnet access slots available as well. So yeah, definitely get in and check what it's all about.
Love it. Zooming out to more big picture stuff. If you had a friend that comes to you today and asks for some advice about getting into crypto, what's a piece of advice you would give to a new cryptocurrency investor coming in the space?
Yeah, I think research. I think that the principles of projects and we've been challenged with this with Transient is around the use case. Yeah. We need to be really clear around the utility and the ability to influence change. And as an investor, generally, there are some exceptions, but you need to be really clear around your value proposition and what you expect to see from a project. The inevitability of, gains and traction, within any project is based on the fundamentals of a project. So I think that's the key for me. TA, graphs, red, green is all great. But if it comes back to agreeing in the principle and the fundamentals of the project and what the team have behind it, I think is a really great starting point. And consume what you want to consume. So there's a lot of investment. There's a lot of emotional investment in crypto and in anywhere that you're trying to utilize your knowledge and expertise to create either wealth or an experience for yourself that you may not otherwise have. But be really selective around the content you choose to consume as well, and really take each as a individual points of view to allow you to make a collective decision around your investments.
So research, and also take the emotion out of it. If your friend asks you a follow-up question, all right, besides the white paper, besides the website, like what research outlets do you personally use? Like what would some you recommend that you like?
Yeah, I like some of the more technology focused. So I like to see things like IT news and these sorts where not specifically just blockchain, but that where there's conversation being had outside of our ecosystem is something that you need to keep an eye on, because what that shows is, and you see it with Ripple, and you see it with these guys that are making headlines, that there is a real need for consuming this content, and you know that there's change afoot once that's actually happening. So I wouldn't necessarily be confined to, you know, the crypto first articles and publications, but clearly it's a really good mechanism to use, where you can see the momentum that's being gathered across some of those, you know, technology and more technical focused publications. So I like to keep in those, and yeah, usually generally trends and the like come up. But look, Twitter as well, and you know, seeing you know, guys talking about projects at a granular level and organic level, you know, through conversations like this, is a really good way to understand the team that you're working with and who you're investing in. So, but it has to work for you as well. So, you know, I think you need to find your right balance and find a source of information that you want to consume, and consume as much of it as you want.
And then, you know, I like that you said, you know, look at the team. I assume you mean, you know, can they execute what they're planning to do? What do you look for when you're researching a team? Is it the past experience? How do you define, or how do you look at a good team versus a bad team, or how do you think about it?
Yeah, I don't think, and for me as investor, is not to you know, judge whether they're good or bad, but what do they bring, and the tangible pieces of their either experience or motivation or expertise. So they're generally the three things. What have they done in the past to prove, you know, how they may, or have a reflection of how they may go in the future. The expertise that they have, so the industries they've been in, the projects they've delivered, and then what their motivation is around the project. Generally, if you can get, you know, 2 out of 3 of those are sort of 80% or more in your own head, then generally you're going to be into an understanding that the team behind it is able to execute the plan they have. Because generally, if you've got a team of 10 or 20 or 50, most will be able to leverage each other's experiences and skills to make up that 3 sort of phase approach. So yeah, definitely experience, motivation, and then the expertise.
Bo, I'm going to give you a fun one now, a fun question. What is your Bitcoin price prediction for the end of the year, and why? If you are bullish, why are you bullish? If you're bearish, why? Just a fun question. Nobody can tell the future.
Oh, by the end of the year.
Or the end of the cycle. Maybe the cycle goes into 2022.
Yeah, I think, you know, 75 is where very bullish. I don't think we're going to see it stop. I think the train's on the tracks, and it's going. And I don't think, you know, for us, it's you know, as we look into the next cycle, from, you know, marketing, from Dapp development, from everything like that, it's not going to stop us either way. But I think in the end of this cycle, there'll be some very happy people, but continue to allow the investment to grow within the ecosystem. So yeah, very excited, but also I think that will be shown within the price as well.
So you think above 100,000, above 200,000? What are you personally, what's your opinion?
Yeah, I think over 100. Yeah, definitely. I think for us, that's sort of where we're marking it at the moment. But yeah, I think it's not going to stop. There will be some correction, but I don't think it's going to be like we've seen in the past. And as we continue to, you know, become more part of the conversation globally, as it's happening every day, that momentum will continue, I think.
I love you keeping it real. I appreciate that. And do you buy into Bitcoin being digital gold? Are you a Bitcoin believer?
Yeah, I am. You know, I was even a physical gold believer, you know, in earlier life. So in terms of scarcity and the finite sort of supply of something appeals to me, you know, and that's where I think Bitcoin plays that role, and really is, from an anchor perspective, what the industry and ecosystem has been built fundamentally from. So I'm a believer of Bitcoin. It's part of my portfolio, and I'll continue to look to where opportunities are at the right price. So yeah, definitely a firm believer. But also, as we've seen, through particularly the last 12 to 24 months, I think the space is big enough, but it is also what the individual wants to get out of their investments and where they see fit in terms of their options they have and the choice they need to make.
Bo, I appreciate you coming on today and educating us and telling us about Transient. I feel like I have a much better understanding of it. Would you be able to give final thoughts for our Altcoin Daily audience and tell us where we can do more research on Transient?
Yeah, sure. And we'll pop some links, but our website, Twitter, and Telegram are the best, and we'll pop those on here. But yeah, just summing up, I think in terms of the proposition and where we are today, we really are going to be providing a marketplace globally where anyone can create a smart contract regardless of coding skills, and it'll be accessible anywhere, anytime. So as a summary, that is it. We've spoken enough around the detail, but it really is knocking down adoption barriers one by one, and that starts with the super simple, my grandma can use type creation of smart contracts. And you'll see that not too long into the future with TSC-Core, being on mainnet within the next 2 weeks. So it's not far away, and it's, absolutely thrilled with the team to get this far this quickly and be able to put something out onto mainnet, sort of a week and a bit after our listing is a really great accomplishment by the team. And we're pumped to get it out.
Awesome. Links are down below in the video description. Bo, thank you so much for your time. And like always, let us know what you think down below in the comment section.
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Bo.
Boom.
That was awesome.
There we go.
Yeah, that was really good. That was really good, Bo. I think that's going to be good.
Good rehearsal. Yeah. Should we record one now? No, just kidding.
No, that's good. No, I think we got all the points across.
Mm-hmm.
I think this will be great. I think this will be a great video for just a different way to consume content, a great video for people to return to if they ever have questions on the value prop as new people come into the space over time. Yeah, you should have jumped in if I was talking too much.
No, that's what we want. No, that was awesome, man.
Our audience has heard us. We want to hear you.
Very good. Excellent. So what's the process from here? Is it some editing and stuff, or does it go raw and then drop, or
basic editing, and I'm going to come up with a 30-second clip to put at the beginning, and then I'm going to pull 2 individual clips to release on their own at the exact same time. Did you, I can't remember, we wanted to release this next week, or if you're not sure, I can just talk with in the Telegram group.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure next week, if possible. Yeah,
totally. No problem at all.
Cool.
So it'll be out next week. Awesome. And we'll tag you and stuff.
Great. Any feedback around the project itself or what you've heard, you guys?
Not really, just like pretty neutral to positive.
Yeah, it interests me. It's definitely on my radar.
I mean, people in our comment section, there's some people who said good things, but generally it wasn't the majority. The majority were just neutral, and then like I did hear some good things saying, "Oh, this is a good project."
Cool.
But it's hard to tell just based on like 1 or 2 comments in the comment section. But yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, generally good.
Yeah, excellent. Great, guys. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Appreciate it, Bo. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
See ya.